Hi, this is an overview of the ChromaLight add-on for Blender, and in this overview I'm going to be showing you how to use the add-on. Upon install, the add-on will appear in your end panel, just like so, and there's a couple of key features here. I'll run through each section one at a time, but just so you're aware, there are a few differences in how the add-on works. So you have the setting panels. The settings basically allow you to generate either an image palette, so this will appear in your images, and it will basically be the same as the colors extracted, but as a single image that you can export and use, or use it inside of Blender. Channel size is split between 16, 64 and 32. 16 would be smaller and will take longer to process the image, but may be more accurate on pulling in the colors. 32 is a good mix of speed and getting the accurate colors within inside of an image, and then 64 is a bigger size grid, which will then be a lot faster, but also may have slightly different colors to the other palettes because of the size of the quadrant that is pulling the colors from. You can tick on, as I mentioned, the make image palette here, and then you have an image size. So this would just do 64 by 64 grids, or you can up this to make the size of the reference palette image larger or smaller. We also have seeds here. I've left the value at 215. You can set this to anything you want, but what this generally does is if you have a seed value, it will then replicate them colors as per the seed. If you choose random, you'll get slight variations each time you run this of the colors it found within the image. So you can put it to random, and that way you'll see some variations. Generally, it will pull out the same colors because it's pulling the most dominant colors from an image. You can also set the differences here. So inside the hide option, inside the options panel, you can delete all the lights within your scene one click, just in case you didn't have any lights and you was trying this add-on out and you generated a bunch of lights and wasn't quite happy. You can just quickly delete them from here rather than having to delete them within inside of your outliner. You have another option to apply to world. What this does is it will generate a world for you and then set a default color as the background from the extracted colors within your image. Just choose one at random. You also have the create light option. When this is selected, you'll see another set of variables that you can change underneath. One of them must be the target image. So what this does is when you select an image within your scene, it will make sure that the lights face towards that image and they're tracked to and constrained to that object. If you move that object within your scene, the lights will track that object. You can then choose the light amount. You can just set it to anything you want, from 1 to however many lights you see fit. And then you have a minimum and maximum distance from your lights. So this, value for your lighting. So this will then change between 200 to 600. It will pick a random number and it will apply that to the power of your lights. So the higher it is, the brighter your light will be. The lower it is, the less intense the light will be. You also have a min and max distance. Now what these are used for is, again, pulling a random number for each light that's generated. It will pull a random number and it will space that lighting around the desired object that you're selected, so that it will either be close or further away, depending on the random value between these two markers. These can all be set, so you can choose how you want your lights to be generated. And in here, what you can do, you can either select mixed, which will then do spot, point or area. It won't do sun. It will just choose from area, pointer light or spotlight to generate. Or you can choose, if you only wanted spotlights within your scene, you can choose to select it to spotlights, area light pointers and suns, and then it would just generate the given amount of area lights, whereas mixed will use a combination of the three I mentioned before. This panel will not show up once you turn to current lights. What current light does is it allows you to apply the colors extracted from the image to the lights within your scene currently. So all the area lights and lighting we have within inside this panel, they'll be applied the random values generated from inside of your chosen image, and we'll step into that next. And then one of the menu within inside the add-on is lights. So here you have a bunch of the lights selected. What you can do is you can click sun. If there was a sun within the scene, it would bring them up. You can choose your area lights, point lights, spotlights, and then as you can see here, if you wanted to, sorry, you can come in and start typing here, and it will pick out the names that you're typing of your lights. You can then click on that and it will highlight the light over here. You can adjust the lighting value from inside of this panel, and you can also choose whether it's what type of light it is, whether it's a point, spot, sun, area from inside the panel, and it would change that light to match. This is handy once you have a large amount of lights, and as you'll see within the tutorial, once we generate an image, we can also then use the panel that will appear here of your generated colors to drag and drop onto lights to adjust further as needed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm now going to go and choose an image, and I'm going to go and choose the Blade Runner image quickly and open this. Once you see the image appear, it's going to ask you to select some colors. At present, this is going to select 4 colors from this image. We have got it set to 8 as a maximum at the moment, purely because I think that that should be enough to get the generated result of chroma lights within your image to be able to generate a color palette for your scene. So with that said, I'm going to go over to here and I'm going to click generate colors. And as you can see, it's generating colors and it's picked these 4 dominant colors out inside of this image. If I hop back over to the lighting panel, you can see we can then, if we want to, drag and drop onto each light to change that color of that lighting. So whilst we can also go into current lights and generate to change all the lights within the scene, if you wasn't happy, you can fine tune each light in here. There is a little icon of a trash can next to each of the lights, and what this allows for is deleting that light from the generated lights from the image. So if you found that there was a couple of light colors in there, or a couple of colors you didn't want applied to lighting, for instance, if there was white or black colors that you just won't need within your lighting setup, you can delete them and they're not used in the generation of color. So yeah, so that's the overview of the main panel. Hopefully that explains all of the elements. What I have done here is I obviously, as mentioned, I have make image palette. So if I quickly go down here, I'll just quickly go into the image editor, and then we can go in here. Once we scroll down, we should see the, let's just quickly go to Blade. And as I mentioned here, you can see the generated image, which it generates. It will have the number of the colors it pulled within your palette, underscore number, and then from the image that it pulled them from. If we was to go and change this, as I say, if I did this to 128, and then I just regenerate the image again, if I come back in here, and you'll see there are larger images created now. So that changes the size of each of these square color palettes. Okay, so now when we go back to our main image, as I said, I've selected the main light in here because this scene has already been set up with lights. So now if I go to generate, you can see here it's going to change the mood of the lights within inside of the add-on, from inside of the add-on onto the scene. And as I mentioned, you can see which random color was selected for each light. You can go in and manually change these. So however, if I wanted this area light here to be a little bit darker, I can go and drag and drop that in. What you can do is you can generate again, and each time you generate, you're going to get different variation because the lights are going to be chosen at random to be applied. The colors, are going to be chosen at random to apply to each of the lights within your scene. So you can see we're getting a similar reference to the image that we created here, and each time we do it, we're going to get some changes within the lights. What we can do is go in and select another image. I'm going to turn off the make palette for now and hide this, and then I'm going to just regenerate. Okay, now I can generate again, and as you can see, I get a totally different contrast of light colors within the scene, giving it a different appeal and feel to it, different mood, so to say. Here you can see it's using one of the whites because it's highlighting some of the white area here. So we have some of the lighter colours being pulled in. As I mentioned, if we did want to take a colour out, we can click here and remove that colour. And then if I go back and generate, I'm going to have a lot more greens used purely because it's only has one lighter value. So yeah. If I choose another image and just generate the 4, what you will notice is if you don't have any colors generated within your scene, you will not get the generate button at the bottom. It just won't show because you have nothing to generate with. So you do need to kind of select your image and then apply the scan to obtain your colors. Again, completely different look and feel based on the colors that were pulled from the image. And how this should help you is if you have, as I said, like a reference image and you're trying to go for that look, you can pull the colors out, delete the ones that you feel may have been wrongly pulled or you're not interested in using. And then with the generate button, you can kind of update your scene's lighting. Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly now is I'm going to quickly choose, let's just get I'm going to quickly just choose this area of this table here. And I'm going to delete all lighting in the scene. And as you can see, it goes dark. And now I'm going to use generate lights. I'm just going to generate a mixed 4 lights with some values preset. And if I click generate, you can see it's generated some lighting around the table. What I can do is delete these lights, delete all lights, and then I can go back in and let's just change the amount to say 8. And then I'll click generate. And again, you can see it's kind of focusing the lights around the table because that was the object we selected, and it's using a mixture of different types of lights, so area, point, and spotlights. You can still go in and edit values or change the type here, and you can quickly click to be able to see the lights. If you wanted to make some adjustments here, you can quickly click on this and you have your panel open where you can go in and change various elements of your lighting. What we can do now is if we wanted to increase the light, so for instance, if we wanted to make sure that the scene was lit a bit more, we can keep the lights that we just generated, the 8, we can go back in here, we can maybe select another object, and this time we're going to generate just 4 lights, and there we go, we have some more lights generated around this area. And again, if we went back in and just chose the background over here and generate, you can see that we start to get more areas of light focused around each of these elements within the scene. And let's see, get some more up here. And then you can see you can start applying this throughout your scene. Once you're happy with your lighting, if you did auto generate, you could still go in and then, change each of the lights with different colors, and again you'll get a different mood from the changes you apply to each of the lights within your scene. Okay, and there's another scene we'll apply some ChromaLights to as well. So if I click on one of the images, I'm just going to choose the matrix again. I'm going to generate the 4 colors. I'm going to go back in and select current lights, and I'm just going to hit generate. As you can see, I get a completely different look and feel to this image, to this scene using the image that we referenced. What we can also do is if we go into the apply world settings, and if I generate now, what we should have is a world that was now set up for us, and it's going to use the white. Once we have the world generated from inside ChromaLight, which will be called ChromaLight World, we can literally drag and drop a color in here and change that to be more of the appealing color that we wish to use. If we didn't want to have it as the randomly assigned color from the generation, we can turn this back off, and now this will not take effect. So if we move forward, we can continue to generate and see the changes that are made. It won't regenerate a new world, it will keep the existing one. and that, as you can see, changes the look and feel of this scene. Again, if we was to use another image, so let's just go in and give it more of a blue overlook. We'll choose the colors and we'll generate. And as you can see, we're getting a lot of the reference colors into our scene from the image provided. As I say, the add-on is customizable. You can go in and update your lights as you've seen within the panel using the search filter or by type of light, and then you can drag and drop. You can, if you're not happy with the referenced image, you can click on here and adjust the values, and they will stay the same until you re-reference, and they will be used. So for instance, if I just wanted to make my own palette of 4, say, just gonna quickly capture some very random colors, and then I can go back, generate. Instead of generating new lights, I'm going to use the current light setup. And now you can see it's starting to use a lot more of the colors that we just generated. As I mentioned, you can go up to 8 as the maximum colors. If I go back into the scene here, which probably has, oops, not this one. I go back into this image here, which probably has a lot more varying colors, and then I click generate. It's going to generate us 8 colors to use from. Now, depending, as I mentioned before, depending on the size within the settings panel here of the grid that you're using to identify the colors within the image, that will depend how long it takes to scan that image. The larger the image will also impact the time it takes, because a big image, it has to go through quadrants, square by square by square by square, to identify all the colors, then look at which one's been used the most. If I hit generate, it's going to start using all of these colors to kind of give us a different look within the scene. So this is the ChromaLight add-on. I hope you guys find it useful. Thank you for watching.